Hey gang, Mocha Boy here. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning back in. All right, so we're going to take a quick look at a few attacks from this last war. We had a war with Bacon Riders, a 145 win clan, which definitely gave us some concern going in. But we were able to walk away with the win for this by taking out all their Town Hall 9s and lower bases. We had a little bit of trouble with their Town Hall 10s, but we were still able to walk away with the win here. So, great job all around of the gang here. But these guys had some good bases. They had some good bases that were set up well, and they were tough nuts to crack. It took us a few passes and a few attacks to figure out where everything was, and then we were able to go in and 3-star everything. So this particular base, we had attempted a hocus pocus on this base earlier and came up just a little shy. I think we clocked in at about 78%. Ran into some trouble on the backside when the witches couldn't break through those final walls to get through the last bit of splash defenses. So we had Fatbelwas going in. He's one of our top Town Hall 9s, and he's one of those guys who has just a really interesting approach and a really creative approach to taking on bases. Now, when you see a base like this, a couple of things to note about the way that this is set up. Hang on a second here. Close. The first thing to notice here is this ring is what we call a hog ring, and what that does is it separates these defenses from these defenses from a targeting perspective, so that when this goes down, the next closest defense is this. When this goes down, your defense-led troops have a tendency to hop around the outside of the base without ever going into the core, unless you take out, unless you can figure out a way to take out this wall, which is essentially half the base, and then release some sort of a hog attack into the core. Now he decided to try something a little different. He's going to go in with a 4-quake attack. He's going to open up the inside and the outside walls and turn this into just a gigantic open base, and then send in not defense-led troops but Valks, because Valks will target anything that's in a clump. So he had Valks going in as the primary DPS for this attack, and then he's going to try to clean up the back end with either some hogs or some loons with some tanks. So it was a fairly straightforward attack, but I just wanted you to see how this all played out, because he's tried this attack on other similar bases, and they work just as well. So the 4 quakes go down, inner and outer are bridged, and there's nothing to stop the Valks from targeting anything in the inner core. Because again, from a targeting perspective, there's nothing left. There's nothing separating them from the inner core, and they will always favor unprotected buildings over protected buildings. So I mean, at this point, it's pretty much just spam all your tank troops, your DPS, and get them into the core. Ideally, you would want them to split into equal groups, but in this particular case, it went a little heavier on the right side. No big deal, because one heal will be able to take care of all of them. Dragon does take a little bit. Does present a little bit of a problem. He ends up having to use his AQ ability just a little bit sooner than he would have liked. But at this point, here come the support troops, and this is one of the things that Belwas is really good at. In these raids, there's usually 20 or 30 things going on at the same time, and it's tricky to keep track of whether or not point defenses are locked onto a tank so you can safely drop cleanup troops on top of them. And so that's what the loons were there for, but they relieve pressure off of the DPS in the core. And then here come the cleanup hogs coming in the back. Now, I would say that the cleanup hogs came in just a little bit too soon, because they end up getting murdered by the splash defenses. Ideally, you would want the splash defenses keyed in on something else so that your hogs are free to roam inside. So if he had just swapped out 2 of those hogs for 2 giants, they probably would have lasted towards the end. But notice those Valks are still up. They've triggered all the giant bombs. I mean, those Valks have 1,200 hit points at level 4, and then paired up with with a max heal, you're talking about some serious survivability there, especially against bases like this. So nothing too crazy. Again, as far as application of strategy, he was able to turn this base into something that was susceptible to Valks and clean up troops by just using 4 quakes and then going in with fewer heals. But he was able to walk away with a 3-star. And in this video, we're going to be looking at another attack from Fatbelwas. Again, Fatbelwas is one of our top Town Hall 9s, a very talented attack planner, and he sees a lot of the when we're going through the base assessment phase of our attack planning, I mean, this one just stood out to us. You saw a base just like this in one of our earlier recaps. 4 air defenses in the core, along with the sweepers in the core, AQ in the core. Not too much else in the core to protect them. So really it's just all about breaching those perimeter defenses, taking out these air defenses, and then cleaning up with loons on the backside. Seems simple in planning, but in execution it's actually kind of tricky, especially if you don't have beefy heroes to jump into the core. But he was able to do this without too much trouble. What was really interesting about this was he used 4 quakes to breach that outer wall. Maybe didn't need them, might have been able to use wall breakers, I don't know, but it's always interesting to see. So at this point, I mean, he's got an easy walk into the core. All he's got to do is just account for some of these trash buildings to make sure nothing gets targeted, but he's going into action there with his wizards to take those down. Once those trash buildings start to go down, he's got his breadcrumb into the core. Those Valks go down, and they're just going to go to work. Heroes are going to go down. His golem's still up. One of the really nice things about these attacks is that when you have those Valks and your golems in the core, those golems, along with your Valks, being able to benefit from those heals is just huge. We've had we've had attacks, or these types of attacks, where the golems ended up with full health at the end of the raid, which is just awesome. So yeah, it's so hard to see these little Valks in kind of that melee, but they're all still up. And the inner defenses are down, AQ's down. Those air defenses are going to go down shortly. The Witches are still spawning skeletons, and then as soon as that second or third rather air defense is going to go down, he's going to start the cleanup phase of his attack. And here come the loons, controlled deployments, trying to do about 2 per defense if at all possible, but there were some targeting issues there. Once that last air defense goes down, and then it's game over. This giant up here didn't really need to do anything. He was supposed to soak up that Wiz Tower, but I guess he was just out of range, but no big deal there. He was able to sneak in with what was left of those balloons and take those out. So again, just a really great example of controlled executions. I mean, he went in with only a couple of heals and 4 earthquakes and a poison, and he was able to take all those troops and have them survive mostly throughout most of the raid. But again, the idea here, or the lesson here, I guess, is base planning. When you see a base like this, where all of their air defense assets are in the core, all it takes is for you to jump a very small team into the core, take them out, and then clean up the base with air troops on the back end. So great job on planning, execution, and everything all around. Great job, Belwas.